It's funny, and I've had this conversation repeatedly with folks. I don't know at which point this stops being both fun and very, very touching. Because to know that all of you braved through the snow for us, without getting too maudlin, I can't describe how much that means and how touched I really am. Because if I've learned anything over the course of the past year, really in particular for my family and I, it's every now and then this job really kicks your butt. I mean, it really does. So to have this many people show up, brave terrible weather, brave traffic, and say we're here for you, it means a lot. And I can't thank all of you for coming out. A couple of other introductions I want to say, and Jen said it wasn't her fault if we missed any elected officials. No, it's probably mine. I do want to welcome Phil Armstrong, who's a candidate for former or outgoing Representative Julie Harhart's seat, the 183rd District. Phil, I think, are you still here? Somewhere, there you are. Phil, you're a great candidate. You're a great candidate in a swing seat. I mean, this is one of the few that we can really win, and if we're ever going to get out of this hole that we're in, we need Phil to win. So please go talk to him when we're done. I also want to welcome my campaign chair, Buddy Lesavoy. And also my treasurer chair, Anthony. On the personal side, my wife and I have a running joke. We know we're at a banquet, if somebody says, "Oh, I saw your family on Facebook," and you don't realize the tolls that this job can really take on your family and how hard it is. And I wouldn't be able to be where I am right now if not for my wife, Brenna, not for my little boy, as well as the newest residents, or newer residents of the Lehigh Valley, my mom and dad. And mom and dad live in Phil's district, so please go talk with them. As well as my staff. The running joke is, oh, staff gets paid to make you look good. Two things about that. First, no, it's too hard to make me look good. Second, and more importantly, they get paid to help the people of 132nd District. And I have two of my three folks are here today, Gene Creedon and Jeff Grace, and they both do an incredible job. As you've gathered from my initial ramblings, let me start with a pretty honest confession. And that is that this job is really not a lot of fun at this specific moment. And I mean that with as much candor as I can muster. Every day in Harrisburg seems like a new adventure in masochism and self-flagellation. We passed a budget, kind of, about 6 months late, and only then when the last second budget deal that we thought we had fell apart as a result of Harrisburg's extreme rainfall. The Tea Party controls far too much, and may be getting stronger. Moderates and pragmatists are dropping like flies. And the institution that I truly deeply love, the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, is currently unable to fulfill its most basic of responsibilities. No matter where you turn right now, be it Allentown, Harrisburg, or DC, government and public service is struggling. That raises the question for me, for Pete, for Eugene, for all of us running for re-election right now. Why do we deserve it? Why do we deserve another term? The answer is too hard to squish into a single speech. The truth is always it's nuanced. You can't fit it into a newspaper article and a tweet. But I do know this much. I do deserve re-election. And I say that very proudly. I believe that what I've done in the past 3 years merits another term, largely because I know that there is much, much more work that needs to be completed. 2 years ago, for those of you that braved a different snowstorm, at my announcement, I remember asking what kind of legislator I wanted to be. I said, quote, should I be a bomb thrower? Someone who called out the Republican majority on each and every one of their foibles. Do I want to be a deal maker? Am I an ideologue, a pragmatist, a loyal soldier, or a rebel? I have found that answer. It is the pragmatist, the technician, the nice guy that gets things done. It is the bombastic bomb thrower who gets shunted to the side when they love the sound of their own voice just a little bit too much. The choice for me was an easy one. That strategy helped me pass a law which allowed for a rape victim to simultaneously sue her attacker for child support while revoking that rapist's child custody rights. And yes, government is so strange that this wasn't actually possible before I helped make the law. It is that tactic which allowed me to pass a bill through the House, the first with my name on it, which allows for an abused spouse to get a divorce quicker. It is this method which helped me work with the governor's office to create regulations that expand background checks for at-home daycares and which eliminated a very bizarre 9-month waiting period for kindergartners who were waiting to be vaccinated against deadly diseases. My slogan 2 years ago was making government work again. I couldn't use that slogan with a straight face anymore, but I'm still proud of what I've done to live up to that idea. As many of you know, the Allentown School District was recently able to add back art, music, and gym to our elementary schools. That happened in no small part because a few years ago, Senator Brown and I were able to make the Allentown School District one of the only school districts in the entire Commonwealth which saw all of its money from the COVID cuts restored. We have a long, long way to go, but things could be a lot worse. In 2012, before Pete was elected, I was the only House member from the Lehigh Valley to vote yes on the transportation plan. That vote means a wider 22. It means more transportation investments. But it all will ultimately mean that every one of us in this room will spend less time sitting in traffic. It also means more businesses, more jobs, higher property values, and less accidents. All that being said, if you ask me what I'm most proud of over the past 3 years, it's the work that I've done in terms of mental health. Because of my own struggles with depression and anxiety, I am uniquely positioned to try to engage in efforts to let people know that mental health issues are nothing to be ashamed of. 1 in 4 Americans suffers from some sort of mental health challenge. 1 in 2 will over the course of their life. But you would never know that those numbers are so high because those that suffer do so silently and in shame. And that shame doesn't have to be. With my colleagues, I co-founded the Mental Health Caucus, and I'm hoping to turn those efforts into an anti-stigma campaign in the future. I've proudly stated that if you're looking for an ideologue, it isn't me. I'm a pragmatist, and I think we can all agree that the concept of pragmatism has suffered far too much over the course of the past few years in government. That being said, you don't confuse pragmatism with advocating your values. And this budget has to be one of those times we stand firm. There are some things we're going to have to compromise on in order to get a budget done. I understand that, and I'm prepared for it. But there's nothing more important to the people of the 132nd School District, or the 132nd Legislative District, than a desperate need to reinvest in education. There is nothing more important to me as a husband, as a father, or as a public servant. And the stakes are too high to give up on our fight to make a better and more equal school system in Pennsylvania and in Allentown. Government is a very scary place right now. It's a place where, at the moment, the big debate within the Republican Party is whether or not their face is Ted Cruz or Donald Trump. Where the presidency of George W. Bush has been repudiated by many because somehow Mr. Bush was not conservative enough. Where educating children has become too much of a political lecture because we're asking people to go a little bit deeper into their pockets. Where organized labor has become a pariah simply because they built the middle class. Where the men and women who are willing to die for this country, for all of us, are not properly cared for because we're too incompetent to get the job done right. Where compromise regularly gets confused with capitulation, and where the good guys can't do the job because the bad guys won't get out of our way. My hope is that the values I cherish, like compromise and the need to invest in the public, will one day reemerge in government. I am not so foolish to think that this will happen overnight. But one day, while disheartened, I had a long conversation with my wife, and she reminded me of a fundamental truth. The pendulum always swings. The Tea Party will one day fade. Compromise and common sense will return. Education will be valued again, and the need to invest in ourselves will come back. Do I know that this will happen? No. But if you want to represent who values education, middle-class job growth, taking care of the people who cannot take care of themselves, and the rights of all, I'm your man. There is so much work left, and that is why I am before you today, asking for another 2 years as your state representative. And thank you very much.